Hey up everybody, welcome back to the Audio Cycling YouTube channel. Back again with another Velogames video, but today it's going to be women's racing because the women's kind of World Tour calendar for Velogames starts with the Ronde van Vlaanderen tomorrow, so we're just going to hit out a nice quick video for you people who perhaps aren't so sure about women's racing. I know that I'm not overly sure about who to pick, but you know, I'm going to just apply some general Velogames knowledge to it. I think that it's important for me to cover women's racing as well as men's racing because, you know, there's no point in all of us people saying that women's racing needs to be covered more equally and then, you know, not cover it. And I feel that part of my duty is to cover it as well and not just cover the men's racing because I know it better. So women's racing, from what I understand, is generally dominated by quite a few riders, very similar to men's racing. One of the people who is Marianne Vos. That would be a name which a lot of people would know, even if you don't watch women's racing that much. You probably also know Annemiek van Vleuten, maybe like Anna van der Breggen, Elisa Longa Borghini, but you might not know riders like Lotte Kopecky, Lisa Brennauer, Grace Brown, people like that who you might not have heard of, Emma Norsgaard, people like that. So this is my team at the moment. It's still subject to change, but at the moment what I've got is Marianne Vos, Chantal van der Broek Black, who won Strade Bianchi earlier this year and then also won Ronde van Vlaanderen Women's Edition last year. Lotte Kopecky is the Belgium champion sprinter, classics rider. Really promising future ahead for her. Lucinda Brand, the cyclocross rider for Trek Segafredo women's team. Really strong rider. Very good at like time trialing, stuff like that, and alongside a very strong Trek team could not only get a good result but more than likely pick up assist points, and that's the kind of general knowledge that I'm carrying across here. If Vos wins, probably pick Nancy van der Berg because she's a 6-pointer for Jumbo-Visma women, and alongside go with Leah Thomas for Movistar, another 6-pointer because she will get assist points if Annemiek van Vleuten, who is of course just the god of women's cycling, and also for Emma Norsgaard, who's a sprinter, who's Danish, who you might know Matthias Norsgaard, who's her brother, who rides for Movistar men's team. But that's just my team at the moment. A lot of people will be like, oh, well, who else could you pick? Well, I mean, you could just pick quite a lot of favourites and maybe just go with, you know, Vos, Van der Breggen, and then you could take off Kopecky. I think what a lot of people will be struggling with is these kind of riders who are perhaps around the 20-point mark and stuff. So who usually goes? Well, basically, if you are a little bit new to women's racing, the SD Works team is just it's like the De Koenig of women's racing, right? Their team is ridiculously strong. It's full of so many riders who can win. You know, they've got Christine Majuris, Demi Vollering, Amy Peters, Julian Dorr, Chantal van der Broek Black, and her name escapes me, Anna van der Breggen. Like that's the team. Like that's a stupidly good team. If you wanted to play it safe, you could just pick as many of those riders as you can. So you could pick Van der Breggen, you could click a couple down, go with Amy Peters, click a couple down again, go with Van der Broek Black. You're still a couple of points under here, so then you could pick Christine Majuris. Yeah, that'll be a pretty good team. Of course, your risk is that you don't have Marianne Vos. If you're a bit worried about that, take off Van der Breggen, put on Vos. If you're worried about Van Vleuten, put on Van Vleuten. If you wanted two of them on, then you just have to take off one of these pointer here's. Yeah, I'll just go down some names and just say who you perhaps want to be thinking of. So, of course, all these top riders are just incredibly good, and you can pick a lot of them. Lisa Brennauer is a very consistent top 5 finisher, time trialist, fairly fast in the sprint. Grace Brown is quite usually known for kind of going solo on moves. Lizzie Deignan, you probably know, as the ex-world champion, fairly fast finish, very good at like climbing, just a very kind of Ardennes classics kind of rider. Cecile Uttrup Ludwig, you must know as the queen of the interviews essentially. Katarina Niewiadoma, the Polish rider for Canyon SRAM, finished behind Van Vleuten in the, I think it was the women's version of Dwarsdor's Vlaanderen the other day. I think it was Dwarsdor's. Amy Peters, Chantal van der Broek Black, again very good one-day racers, Dutch. Elisa Balsamo, is that right? No, Balsamo is a sprinter, but also pretty good at cobbled racing. Has a very consistent string of performances in classics racing. So it's very similar to Emma Norsgaard. Those two are very similar, very classic sprinters. Imagine somebody a bit like Christoph maybe would be a good comparison, or maybe like a faster than a Trentin. It's kind of hard to draw a comparison, but somebody you go. I mean, a kind of classic sprinter. Shows like Julian Dorr. Leanne Lippert is a kind of younger, German rider. Good at time trialing, perhaps maybe this race is a bit too hard for her. I have looked at these people's results. Perhaps her results aren't like comparable to the others. Demi Vollering, again, just part of this SD Works team. You could pick any of them and she'd probably do well. Marta Bastianelli won this race a couple of years ago ahead of Cecile Ludwig and Annemiek van Vleuten. So, ex-winner. Got to be up there. Soya Paladin is more of like I'd say she's more like an Ardennes rider, so perhaps avoid that. Sarah Roy, sprinter, Australian champion, very good at one-day races though. Alice Barnes and Hannah Barnes, very, very similar kind of rider, fast finish. You could definitely pick either one of those two if you need a 12-pointer. Audley Coran Rago is the French champion for Trek Segafredo. They just have a really cool team of, they have the Ruth Winder as well, the American champion. So they have the Italian champion, the French champion, and the American champion. So if you're just a fan of national champs jerseys, you could just pick all those guys if you wanted to. Florian Mackay, I think is how you say it, is probably quite cheap actually. I remember putting her on in a lot of classics races previously, and she's picked up some good, top 5 performances for me in previous years. And then you're kind of getting down to the point where it's testing my knowledge. I know that Chiara Consoni again is a sprinter. She's the sister of Simone Consoni, who you probably know as Elia Viviani's lead-up man. Lucinda Brand, of course, is on my team. Leah Kirkman, the Canadian, more of like a puncher. Again, probably not necessarily known as much for her cobbled racing. Alexis Ryan had a good result the other day, the American sprinter. Amanda Spratt, this probably race isn't quite suited to her. Eva Berman used to ride for Bols Dolmans, but now rides for Team Tibco. And then you kind of get into the riders which I'm not even massively sure about. But I'm just going to go down them anyway, just in case anybody kind of jumps out on me. But not massively. If you're getting down to the 6-pointers and the 4-pointers, more than likely I'd be going for the kind of assist point route that I've gone with these two. If you need 4-pointers, difficult to say. I'm not really sure how much advice I can give on that. You'd more than likely maybe like Danny Christmas or just like some of the Drops Le Col people. That's who I'd go with. So that's as much advice as I can give you right now. Hopefully you pick a nice team. Hopefully you pick a team because it's women's racing and equality and all that. So catch you next time for Tour of the Basque Country. Salut.